1985. Steve Jobs gets fired from his own company. For the next decade, almost nothing he touches turns to gold. Next struggles. The press writes him off. 1997. He returns to Apple, and everything he touches for the next 14 years changes the world. Same man, same talent, same chart. So what changed? In BaZi, there's an answer for this, and it's the part of Chinese astrology that surprises people the most. Your chart is fixed at birth, but your chart is not your life. Every 10 years, your life enters a completely new season. The classics call them luck pillars. Today, I'll show you how they work, how the same chart can starve in one decade and feast in the next, and how to figure out which season you're standing in right now. If you're new here, I'm Jimmy, certified acupuncturist. My other channel teaches traditional Chinese medicine. This one decodes BaZi, Chinese astrology. Same engine underneath. Yin, Yang, and the 5 elements. Let's go. First, what is a luck pillar? Think of your birth chart as a car. The engine, the handling, the fuel it needs. That was all set in the factory. That's what we covered in the last 2 episodes. Your elements, your mix, your missing pieces. But a car doesn't drive in a vacuum. It drives on a road. The luck pillars are the road. Starting from your month pillar, the calendar keeps walking forward, and every 10 years, it hands your chart a new pair of characters. A new element enters the room, and it stays for a decade. That's not a metaphor. It's literally how the system is computed. Everyone alive is inside a specific 10-year pillar right now, including you. And here's the rule that makes it powerful. Remember the cycles, how each element feeds one element and checks another? When a decade brings the element your chart is hungry for, that's a feeding season. Doors open with less pushing. The thing you've always been building suddenly has wind behind it. When a decade brings an element your chart already has too much of, or one that checks your core, that's a friction season, not a curse. Friction. The same effort produces half the motion. Same car, different road. Now, before I show you what this looked like in Jobs' life, decade by decade, do one thing for me. Go to easternreading.com. The free chart shows your 8 characters in about 30 seconds, your engine. Count your elements. Notice what you're heavy in and what's thin or missing. That's exactly what decides which decades feed you and which ones grind you. Link is in the description. Pause the video if you need to. I'll wait. Good. Now let's put Steve Jobs' chart on the road. Episode 3. We established his daymaster, Yang Fire, the radiant sun, fire that exists to illuminate, fed by wood, checked by water. Watch what the decades did. His 20s, a wood-heavy season. Wood feeds fire. The garage years, the Apple I, the Macintosh, a young sun with a forest of fuel. He didn't just succeed. He blazed. Then the road turned. His mid-30s into his 40s, the fuel thins out. The season shifts toward elements that check fire instead of feeding it. This is the next decade, the wilderness. Notice, he didn't get less talented. He didn't work less. The same intensity that lit up a stage was now burning without oxygen. Here's the part most people miss. That friction decade wasn't wasted. Next built the technology that became the foundation of the modern Mac. Pixar happened in those years too. Friction seasons don't stop growth. They move it underground. And then the late 90s. The road turned again. The season began feeding fire, and everything underground came up at once. iMac, iPod, iPhone. The greatest second act in business history, and in BaZi terms, a sun walking back into a forest. Same chart, 3 different roads. That's luck pillars. So the obvious question, how do you read your own? The full computation takes a chart master, or a good engine, but the logic you now already own. It's 3 steps. Step 1. Know your chart. What's your day master? What are you heavy in? What's missing? That's episodes 3 and 4. Step 2. Know your current pillar. Which element walked into your decade? That's a calculation from your birth data. Step 3. Apply the cycles. Is this decade's element feeding your core or checking it? Is it filling your missing element or piling onto your excess? Feeding season, this is when you launch, push, say yes, compound aggressively. The wind doesn't blow forever. Friction season, this is when you build underground. Learn, train, strengthen the foundation, like jobs at Next. The work you do in a friction decade is exactly what the next feeding decade multiplies. That reframe alone, knowing which mode you're in, is worth more than 100 lucky charms. Now, 3 honest things. First, 10 years is the rhythm, but the handoff isn't a light switch. Seasons blend at the edges, usually across a year or 2. If your life started shifting at 38 instead of 40, that's normal. The calendar walks, it doesn't jump. Second, a luck pillar is a weather report, not a verdict. Farmers with the same weather get different harvests. The pillar tells you what the sky's doing, what you plant. That was never written anywhere. And third, I'll say it plainly, some readers use luck pillars to sell fear. A bad decade is coming. Buy this remedy. That's not this channel. And it's not the classics either. There are no bad decades. There are seasons for harvesting and seasons for planting. Both grow the farm. And if you skipped your chart earlier, easternreading.com, link in the description. 30 seconds for your engine. The full reading at $9.99 maps your complete elemental balance, the exact information your seasons act on. Next episode, we're going somewhere everyone asks me about: relationships. Why some pairs of charts feel effortless and others feel like flint and steel, and why opposites attract is, elementally speaking, often literally true. Bring the chart of someone you love. It'll get interesting. Before you go, think back across your own life, decade by decade. Which 10-year stretch felt like wind at your back? Which one felt like walking uphill? Drop the ages in the comments, like 25 to 35 uphill. Then check it against your pillars and tell me if the road matches the memory. I read every comment. Thanks for watching. See you next time.